So one night he took her along with him. "What'll you have?" he asked. "Oh, I don't know. The same as you, I suppose," she replied. So the husband ordered beer and threw his down in one shot. His wife watched him, then took a sip from her glass and immediately spat it out. "Yuck, that's terrible," she spluttered. "I don't know how you can drink this stuff." "Well, there you go," cried the husband. "And you think I'm out enjoying myself every night?" 2 friends are walking their dogs, a Dalmatian and a Chihuahua, when they smell something delicious coming from a nearby restaurant. The guy with the Dalmatian says, "Let's get something to eat." But the guy with the Chihuahua says, "We can't go in there, we have dogs with us." So the first guy says, "Just follow my lead." He puts on a pair of sunglasses and walks into the restaurant. "Sorry," says the owner, "no pets allowed." "But this is my seeing eye dog," the guy with the Dalmatian says. "A Dalmatian?" "Yes, they're using them now." The owner says, "Very well then, come on in." The guy with the Chihuahua repeats the process and gets the same response from the owner. "Sorry, pal, no pets allowed." "But this is my seeing eye dog," says the second guy. "A Chihuahua?" asked the incredulous owner. "A Chihuahua," says the man in the dark glasses. "They gave me a Chihuahua." Ed.E. 3 men are in the middle of a desert when their car breaks down. For their hike to town, they each decide to take one thing with them. One man takes a jug of water, the second man takes a sandwich, the last man takes one of the car doors. The first man says to the last man, "I'm bringing the water, because if I get thirsty, I can take a drink. And it makes sense to bring a sandwich in case we get hungry, but why bring a car door?" The last man replies, "If I get hot, I can just roll down the window." 3. Jimmy and Jack were twins, but they weren't identical. Far from it. They looked like the before and after photos in those old bodybuilding adverts. Jimmy was a skinny thing, while Jack was well-built and muscular. As a result, Jack seemed to attract women without making an effort. Everywhere he went, they would cluster round him, while poor Jimmy struggled, and even when women approached him, usually because he was standing next to Jack, he found it difficult to talk to them. However, the two were the best of friends, and Jack always did his best to help Jimmy out, though it was rarely successful. One day, the two planned to go to the beach. Jack knew that as soon as he stepped onto the sands, wearing his swimming trunks, the women would come flocking, and hopefully Jimmy would benefit from the overflow, so to speak. Unfortunately, as they were about to set off, something cropped up, and Jack found he had some business to take care of first. He said to Jimmy, "You go on ahead and I'll meet you there, but in the meantime, we need to do something to give you an advantage. That skinny body is what's holding you back. We can't give you muscles, but we can make you look a bit more of a stud. Get a potato and pop it down your swimming trunks, and you'll look a bit more macho." Jimmy set off, and Jack took care of his business, then headed for the beach to find his brother. It didn't take long. Though the beach was crowded, there was a large circular gap at one point, as if people were trying to keep away from some unpleasant object. Right at the center sat Jimmy, looking miserable. He got to his feet as Jack approached. "This is all your fault," he said. "I did what you told me. I got a potato and stuck it down my swimming trunks. But as soon as I came out of the changing rooms, people started screaming and running away. You said it would attract the girls, but nobody will come within 20 yards of me." "I'm not surprised," said Jack. "You were supposed to put the potato down the front of your trunks." Therefore, a 50-year-old woman is very pleased with her new facelift. She goes to the bank and steps up to the counter. She asks the teller, "How old do you think I am?" The teller looks her up and down and guesses 35. "Nope, 50, she says, and goes to Subway for lunch. She asks the sandwich artist behind the counter, "How old do you think I am?" The artist looks her up and down and guesses 27. "Nope, 50, she says, and heads to the park to eat her sandwich. After a bit, an elderly man sits next to her on the bench and starts eating his lunch. She turns to him and asks, "How old do you think I am?" The elderly man looks her up and down and says, "Well, back in my day, there was one surefire way to tell a woman's age. Check her titties." Seeing no one was around, the woman agreed and opened her blouse. The old man went to town. He was kneading, tugging, squishing, yanking, motorboating. He worked up such a sweat, the woman worried he might collapse. Finally, he let go, red-faced and huffing. "Madam, you are precisely 50 years old." "How the hell did you know that?" The old man stood and tossed his lunch in the trash. "I was behind you in line at Subway." The 4 people are on a plane. The Pope, the President of the United States, the Prime Minister of the UK, and a schoolboy. The plane is about to crash, and the pilot informs them that there is only 3 parachutes available. The Prime Minister says, "I need a parachute. I gotta keep running the government." So he grabs a parachute and jumps out of the plane. The President says, "I need a parachute. I've got to keep running the country." So he grabs a parachute and jumps out of the plane. The Pope, however, smiles at the schoolboy and says, "You take the last parachute. I've already lived my life." But the schoolboy smiles back at him and says, "There's no need, sir. The President took my backpack." 6. A priest is fishing with one of his flock, an avid fisherman, and catches a whopper of a fish. The parishioner, forgetting himself for a moment, exclaims, "Look at the size of that." The priest responds sternly, and so the parishioner, quick thinking as his, explains, "Oh, no, Father. That's the name of the fish." The priest is surprised, but knowing his flock wouldn't lie to him, he happily carries on. That afternoon, he returns to the church, hands a nun a fish, and asks, "Sister, can you clean and cook this?" "Father," she gasps, but the priest responds with a chuckle, "No, sister, that's the name of the fish." The nun is surprised, but knowing the priest wouldn't lie, she happily carries on. That evening, the Pope has come for dinner at the small church with the priest and the nun. They're enjoying the meal, and the Pope remarks, "This fish is delicious." The priest proudly responds, "I caught the f***." The nun adds, "I cleaned and cooked the f***." The Pope is slightly taken aback, but regains himself, looks at the priest and the nun, then grins. "You know something. You are all right." 7. Anne woke up one morning and discovered her dog, Fluffy, was not moving. She brought Fluffy to the vet. After a brief examination, the vet pronounced the dog dead. "Are you sure?" Anne asked with tears in her eyes. "Isn't there anything else you can do for Fluffy?" The vet replied, "Well, there is one more thing we could try." He disappeared in the back room for a second and came back carrying a cat in his arms. He put the cat on the table next to the dog. The cat sniffed the dog from head to toe, jumped off the table, and ran back into the other room. "Well, that confirms it," the vet announced. "Your dog is dead. How much do I owe you?" Anne sighed. "That will be $250, the vet replied. "What?" Anne yelled. "What did you do that cost $250? "Well," the vet replied, "it's $50 for the office visit and $200 for the CAT scan."